Time now for the Nick Hart Show, a special sports production of the Wabash Valley College Radio, TV, and Digital Media Department, presented by 89-1 The Bash and the Gibson Southern Titan Football Boosters, including A&B Logistics, LLC, A&T Concrete Supply, Absolute Custom Machine, LLC, Angermeyer Electric, Brian Stevens Homes, Davis Brothers, Daylight Land Management, Daywig Meats, Dillbeck Properties, Diversified Instruments, DuBois County Garage Doors, Duke Energy, ERA First Advantage, Rodney Langford, First Rate Real Estate, Kent Kleiman, Foster Construction, Fryman Land Service LLC, by Fort Branch Car Wash, Gady Oil, the grandparents of Owen O'Neill, Grassmaster Sod Farms, Hobstadt Family Dentistry LLC, Hobstadt Summerfest, Heritage Petroleum LLC, Hillside Gardens, HMC Gears, Image Inks, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, in memory of Zach Bailey, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Nathan Belote, Jackson Seed Service, Jarbo Tax Service, JJ's Concrete Construction LLC, JMCO Technologies, Johnson Commercial Mowing Incorporated, K&K Excavating Incorporated, Casey Fuquay State Farm Agent, Kathy Solomon Photography, Key Construction Incorporated, Kissel Wagner Survey LLC, by Kirkwood Family Dentistry, Little Titans Daycare, Little Miracles Learning Center, Lowry Ag Company LLC, by Marcus Jungan State Farm Insurance, Melcor Custom Cabinets, MyTech Systems, by Murphy's Stump and Grind LLC, National Vet Health, Owensville Auto Body, Parker Excavating, by Perfect Climate Heating, Air, and Plumbing, Cole Concrete Construction, Prodigy Mold and Tool Incorporated, Pro Rehab, Rawhide Golf Supplies LLC, Rooted in Him, Sandy's Pizza and Mini Storage, Shearer Monument Works, by Scotty's Lawn Equipment, by Senior Tequila, Solman Family Farms LLC, South Gibson Titan Lacrosse, Steve Faulkner Chevrolet, by Stodgel Funeral Home, by Tai Chow, The Brass Ring, Titan Construction, TYFL, the Titan Youth Football League, by United Fidelity Bank, Value Built Homes, Vernado Construction, Vomac Truck Sales and Service Incorporated, by We Simply Clean LLC, and by Young's Auto Body. The Nick Hart Show, a special sports production of the Wabash Valley College Radio, TV, and Digital Media Department and 89.1 The Bash.
And we're back here on 89.1 The Bash with episode 4 of the Nick Hart Show. I'm Austin Harrelson. Alongside me, as always, Nick Hart. Coach Hart, how's it going?
Good.
So let's just hop right into it. You know, the huge victory over the Mount Vernon Wildcats. Coach, after the Rochester game, how pleased were you with the way your team responded in this big-time win?
Yeah, very pleased. I think obviously everybody sees what happens on Friday night. I thought we had a great week of practice in preparation to get ready for Friday night. We found some things we talked about last week on here that, I felt like we're exposed a little bit in that Rochester game, things we had to get better at. Our kids did a great job and coaches of paying attention to the detail of those things. And we weren't perfect Friday night, but, we were a lot better in our, alignments and assignments and that type of thing. So we were in much better positions to make plays and keep big plays from happening. I think that was probably the most, other than winning. The next best thing was against an offense that had put up, several big plays in the first 2 weeks, and we had given up several big plays. We didn't give up any big plays on Friday, with the first group. So, that was kind of the focus, and good to see that pay off on Friday.
Were there any players whose impact was bigger than what it showed on the box score? Obviously, the box score was nice for Gibson Southern, but were there anybody that just kind of um, who it went beyond the box score?
Um, Not off the top of my head. Thought it was just a very, complete effort. It wasn't, one guy, really playing well. We just, had 11 guys doing their job, on almost every play. And, when you have some talent and you can get that going, and playing as a cohesive unit, good things are going to happen for you. I think the important thing for us is, just because it happened one Friday night doesn't mean that it's going to continue. We have to continue to, um, you know, get better and focus on the details, and hopefully it becomes a trend, and not a one-off thing for us.
Absolutely. What stood out to you most when you went back, you and your coaching staff went back, and even the players, all of you guys going back and watching the film? What stood out most to you coming from this one?
Again, I just I'm kind of repeating myself, but just how we were much better, in everybody being where they're supposed to be with the depth they're supposed to be at. And sometimes it doesn't matter, right? Like if I'm a safety, and it's a run play or something's thrown quick, it doesn't necessarily matter where I'm at, but it does to us right now. We're critiquing all those things, because so some of that detail stuff has been an issue for us here in the first couple of weeks. I just thought, again, there's a few things to clean up. I thought for the most part, we were really sound in everything that we did.
Absolutely. So when we get back, we're going to deep dive into the offense. We saw the box score 42-0 over the Mount Vernon Wildcats. And when we get right back here on 89 Won the Bash, me and Coach Hart will dive into this offensive performance.
This special sports presentation of 89 Won the Bash is made possible by A&B Logistics LLC, A&T Concrete Supply, Absolute Custom Machine LLC, Angermeyer Electric, Brian Stevens Homes, Davis Brothers, Daylight Land Management, Daywig Meats, Dillbeck Properties, Diversified Instruments, DuBois County Garage Doors, Duke Energy, ERA First Advantage Rodney Langford, First Rate Real Estate Kent Kleiman, Foster Construction, Fryman Land Service LLC, by Fort Branch Car Wash, Gady Oil, the grandparents of Owen O'Neill, Grassmaster Sod Farms, Hobstadt Family Dentistry LLC, Hobstadt Summerfest, Heritage Petroleum LLC, and by Hillside Gardens.
And we're back here on 89 Won the Bash with the Nick Hart Show. Coach, this offense looked stellar, as always. In the first half, they looked to be firing on all cylinders, and really throughout the entire game. We'll jump right into, we always like to start things off with Zach Foster. He looks sharp again. What strides have you seen him take through the first 3 weeks of the season?
Yeah, I thought, to me, just how well, he understands where to go with the football, and the timing, that he gets to that decision with. He actually missed a read, in the first drive, and again, it was the first or second drive, and it was something we hadn't really practiced, but kind of is basic to us because they were playing us a little bit differently. And I know what he saw, but when one play stands out to you, over 3 weeks where your quarterback just missed a read, that means he's seeing things really, really well. Like when he missed one, it was kind of like, oh, what's he doing? Because he's been so on top of everything. So, just the command he has of the offense, we put a lot on him, run game, RPO game, pass game. He's got decisions to make almost every single play. And he's been spectacular in the decisions that that he's making. Obviously he makes plays with his legs and makes stellar throws as well. I think he did those things last year. I think just his command of the offense and his decision making and how quickly he can arrive at that decision, is at a level that it's really hard to get to that level. I think he's really diagnosing things really well right now.
Absolutely. It just, like you said, I just keep seeing improvement from Foster every single week. And, just he feels super, super comfortable, especially in that Mount Vernon game. Going from, arguably the most important position in football at quarterback, you go to the running game. And I think that for this Gibson Southern team, this rushing attack is arguably as important as the quarterback. You have Tucker Deputy, you have Eli Foster, you have Colin Shear, and Eli Foster really had his breakout game. And, me and Scotty talked on the broadcast before the game. This rushing attack has been so lethal, but you really haven't seen that breakout game. And, we saw Zach Foster week 1, but just out of the running back position, nobody really had a quote unquote breakout game. Eli Foster had his first 100-yard rushing game of the season. What did you see from him specifically, and even from this offensive line that allowed for him to break out like he did?
Yeah, you mentioned it. We got 3 guys back there, and I think they're all playing really, really well. I think they've done a great job in pass protection. That's the thing that doesn't show up in the box score. They're doing a great job, obviously, running the football as well. And, just kind of the way we're doing it and platooning that position, I think it's almost a little bit of luck of the draw too about, who's going to have a big game and who's not, for who's in when the right play is called. But no, I think all those guys are playing great. Eli did a great job on his reads and understanding where to go on Friday, and our offensive line did a wonderful job of creating some holes. There was some big time holes for those guys to run through on Friday night. And I thought our offensive line, played at a really high level.
Yeah, I know me and Scotty, and it's really hard, especially when you're in the booth trying to highlight the offensive line, because you're trying to get off, what's going on here, what Zach Foster's doing when he's rolling out this and that. And, we made it an effort like, hey, we have to talk about this offensive line. They have played stellar all season, really, heading into even Friday night. And then they just added another impressive game to their resume. What's an area offensively? You're heading into a Henderson County game. This is another big school that you're playing against. What's one area offensively you'd like to see cleaned up heading back home against Henderson County?
Yeah, just probably what every coach in America wants is just a little bit more consistency.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm not making excuses for him, but in a little bit of fairness, I thought we got sloppy in the second quarter offensively. Our first 2 drives were about as clean as could be. Moved the ball down the field. And then, we had the 2 pick sixes, which we're not going to trade in, obviously. But I think as an offense, I felt like as I'm the play caller and we're kind of like, got what we want to go to next. And it's pick 6 and then it's pick 6. And there was a quarter break in there. Like, I felt like one of those graphics was going to come up on like Sunday Night Football that, we hadn't taken a snap in like 28 minutes.
Right.
But those things are going to happen through the course of a season. It could be an injury or a lightning delay or whatever it may be. I just think our consistency. I think in the first 2 games, we moved the ball really well consistently, and we didn't finish some drives in both of the first 2 games. So just not having those offensive lulls. Whether it be because you've been off the field for a long time or not finishing a drive, just trying to get more consistent, which probably every coach in America, whether you're coaching 3rd graders or coaching the NFL, like, you want your offense, you want to be more consistent in what you're doing. So it's a general thing. But just, finishing some of those drives, not getting sloppy when you get up 28-0, just some of those type of things, is stuff that I think that we can get better at.
Alrighty. Hey, and you know what? After this break, we're going to dive into what I think is the most impressive part of Friday's matchup, which was the defense and the shutout that they had. So when we get back from break, we'll talk about this defense here on 89.1 The Bash as a part of the Nick Hart Show.
This special sports presentation of 89.1 The Bash is made possible by HMC Gears, Image Inks, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, in memory of Zach Bailey, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Nathan Belote, Jackson Seed Service, Jarbo Tax Service, JJ's Concrete Construction LLC, JMCO Technologies, Johnson Commercial Mowing Incorporated, K&K Excavating Incorporated, Casey Fuquay State Farm Agent, Kathy Salmon Photography, P Construction Incorporated, Kissel Wagner Survey LLC, by Kirkwood Family Dentistry, Little Titans Daycare, Little Miracles Learning Center, Lowry Ag Company LLC, by Marcus Union State Farm Insurance, Melcor Custom Cabinets, MyTech Systems, by Murphy Stump and Grind LLC, National Vet Health, Owensville Auto Body, and by Parker Excavating.
And we're back here on 89.1 The Bash as a part of the Nick Hart Show. I'm Austin Harrelson with coach of the Gibson Southern Titans, Nick Hart. Coach, this defense looked absolutely incredible. And I think this was their best performance of the season. A shutout is always tough to get. Any level of football, it's incredibly tough. What impressed you most about this defensive effort overall?
Just we've kind of talked about it on here. I don't think we take away a couple of short field drives off of turnovers. We haven't given up a touchdown on a drive, and we haven't given up a 30-yard plus play in that drive. Making people move the football methodically down the field. Nobody's been able to do it yet this year, and I think we've played 3 really good offenses. So just having that, we stayed on top of things. We were able to, get that stuff done, and then let our defense do what they do, and get people off the field. So thought we did a much better job. We weren't perfect, but we took a huge step forward from where we had been the last 2 weeks.
And, the first 2 weeks of the season, we saw the secondary, like I think they could describe it last week as a roller coaster. You see, lockdown coverage, boom, big play. Lockdown coverage, boom, big play, right? And so you see the 2 pick sixes, you see the 2 first defensive touchdowns of the season for Gibson Southern. Talk about the progression that you've seen from the back half of your defense.
I thought I thought we did a consistent. We've been good on the back end. It's been the letdowns on the big plays. Okay. And again, I thought we did a much better job of that on Friday. We've made some really nice plays on the back end through the course of the first 2 weeks. So that wasn't the concern. It was the big plays and being able to, stay on top of things, not have the coverage busts, those type of things. Took a huge step forward in that on Friday because they hit a lot of big plays in their first 2 weeks. So that was a concern going in. Thought we did a much better job. Part of that, it works. Together, it's complementary football or complementary defense. We did a great job of applying pressure. I don't think we actually got a sack on Friday night, but we were in the backfield a lot and caused a lot of pressure and made the ball come out before he probably wanted it to come out. And that's always going to help your secondary as well when you're applying pressure up front.
What identity do you want this group to build as this season keeps progressing?
That's a good question. More Friday night would be great.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's us. I think, we know with our front seven and some of the playmakers that we do have in the secondary, it is not that nobody's going to be able to do it all year, but we think it's going to be really difficult for people to drive the football down the field against us and score if we're not giving up chunk plays. And like we talked about last week a little bit, like when you play good teams, they're going to make their own plays, right? It would be naive to think that we're not going to give up another 30-yard plus play this season. What we got to do a better job of is not putting ourselves in position where that can happen easily. We can't help the offense make those plays. I thought we took a big step forward in that on Friday. But our effort on defense, our physicality on defense, those things have not been an issue. And I don't foresee them being an issue. We get people to the football. Our guys are flying around. It's more about, doing our job and making sure that, we have the appropriate depth and the appropriate alignment to make sure that we're not easily letting people get past us. Because when you play good people, they're going to get past you some just on their abilities. I think that's the big thing for us that we're going to continue to work on and try and get better at. And we probably have more in up front with our front seven than we've ever had in a season. Just kind of fine tuning some of those things up front, as well as some of the different looks that we have and blitzes and stunts and those type of things.
Well, if this defense can do exactly what they did last Friday night, then I think me, along with the rest of Gibson Southern faithful, will be more than happy. But when we get back from break, we'll dive in and give a quick preview as the Gibson Southern Titans are taking on Henderson County this Friday. We'll be right back here on 89.1 The Bash.
This special sports presentation of 89.1 The Bash is made possible by Perfect Climate Heating, Air, and Plumbing, Cole Concrete Construction, Prodigy Mold and Tool Incorporated, Pro Rehab, Rawhide Golf Supplies LLC, Rooted in Him, Sandy's Pizza and Mini Storage, Shearer Monument Works, by Scotty's Lawn Equipment, by Senior Tequila, Solman Family Farms LLC, South Gibson Titan Lacrosse, Steve Faulkner Chevrolet, by Stodgel Funeral Home, by Tai Chow, The Brass Ring, Titan Construction, TYFL, the Titan Youth Football League, by United Fidelity Bank, Value Gulf Homes, Vernado Construction, Vomac Truck Sales and Service Incorporated, by We Simply Clean LLC, and by Young's Auto Body.
And we are back here on 89.1 The Bash with Coach Nick Hart as a part of the Nick Hart Show. This is episode 4. We're going into week 4. Gibson Southern 2-1, coming off a big-time bounce-back victory. However, the schedule doesn't get any easier for you guys. You guys are playing 6A Henderson County. It's not in Kentucky. Henderson County's in Kentucky, but you guys are back at home. When you watch Henderson County on film, they have at least a couple, 2 to 3 weeks of film. What stands out to you and your coaching staff about them?
Yeah, I think two things. One is, we just got done talking about our defense and doing this. They have some big playability. I think they're creative about how they're getting the ball to some of their guys. They have the ability to hit a home run every time that they touch the ball. The second thing is I think their defense. I think their defense is really athletic. Their ends are super athletic and really cause some havoc. And I think they've only played 2 games, because in Kentucky you get a bye. You got 11 weeks to play 10 games. So their bye was week 2. So they're 1-1. And if you look at the points they've given up, in these first 2 weeks, you might go like, what? Why is he talking about their defense for? Well, their defense has been put in some really tough spots from turnovers, from special teams, things of that nature. Kind of going back to what we talked about, there haven't been a whole lot of drives down the field against their defense. So, I know their head coach is a defensive guy and been doing it for a long time. And, you can kind of tell that that's where where their strong point is of their football team. And so, it's going to be a challenge. We're going to have to, play really clean, to move the football against them. And like I said, on offense, I think they've shown signs of being really good. Their first game, they had a bunch of quarterbacks get banged up. And then the second game, they hit some big plays and won by a field goal. So, I think they're going to get cleaner on offense. They've had some turnovers and penalties and things like that have really killed some drives. And, with a new coach and a new system, and stuff that's going to keep getting better and better. I like and respect those guys. So I hope it gets better for them, preferably after Friday. They can clean things up and stuff. But, I think that's the big thing. Like if they haven't turned the ball over and had some special teams and stuff like that, they probably have a really good chance of being 2-0 right now, coming into this game. And, I think for us is you look at an opponent, you've got to expect them to play that type of game. They present a lot of challenges. Like I said, I think their ends are really difficult to deal with. They get to the football. They're a physical football team. It's what you'd expect out of a 6A group. And then, offensively, they're going to give multiple looks in what they do. Again, part of that, I think part of their, I don't want to say struggles on offense because they've had a lot of, but some of their miscues on offense has kind of been like the quarterback revolving door thing is they've had some guys banged up. But they want to run the football. Like I said, the guys they're handing it to or the guys taking the snap have the ability to make some really big plays. So, we got to fit everything soundly and, hopefully get them a little bit off schedule, so they can't continue to sit there and run it at us.
Yeah, well, I was just about to ask you what the keys for Gibson Southern were going to be Friday night, and you kind of answered it there. Last question that I'm going to ask you, and it's not really a question per se, but I really want to kind of highlight some key players on both sides of the football this season. Maybe, maybe not the biggest names. I'm not like names you're not hearing all the time on the broadcast, or just who has really, really impressed you coming from offense and defense so far this season?
I think you look, Noah Keister's got 6 touchdown receptions.
He's been incredible.
3 games. That's great. I think, RJ Smith, for a sophomore on the offensive line, is playing really, really well. Again, you're asking for names you don't hear. You probably hear this one, but impressive to me that Will Redden in his first year of football, hasn't missed an extra point. Been really solid on kickoffs for us. Caden Rochlow is his first year punting, and he's doing an excellent job for us in that unit. So, a lot of guys, Ben Reinhardt, is playing tight end for the first time. And, especially with Noah Ott that's been out, he's had to kind of flip back and, he's playing DN, then he comes over and he's, taking offensive reps, at tight end. There's a lot of guys, and I'm sure I'm leaving some out, and I don't know the names that you guys are saying all the time. So I was trying to kind of throw some linemen and some special teams.
Absolutely. And those are the names we're missing.
Yeah. But no, I think, we played really well up front on both sides. So that offensive and defensive line units, has kind of been what we've expected them to be with the guys that we've had returning in those spots.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on once again. This is week 4. Make sure to tune in to 89-1 The Bash on Friday as the Gibson Southern Titans will be taking on 6A Henderson County, Kentucky. Like I said, back in Gibson Southern. We're back at home. It's nice after 2 away games going to Rochester. It's just nice being back at home in the beautiful stadium. So, Coach, thank you for joining us here on 89-1 The Bash, and we'll be back with the Nick Hart Show next Wednesday as well. So make sure to tune into 89-1 The Bash as well. And Coach, go out there and get another win.
Hopefully we're talking about a win next Wednesday.
I'm hoping to. That makes my broadcast so much easier.
yeah, it is. We're looking forward to it. It's homecoming on Friday, and our TYFL youth football night. So, kind of got a couple of things packed in there on Friday. Should be a great crowd, and, some exciting stuff kind of going around the game as well.
All righty. Well, tune in next week here on 89-1 The Bash for the Nick Hart Show, and we'll see you this Friday for Gibson Southern Titans football here on 89-1 The Bash.
Thanks for listening to the Nick Hart Show on 89-1 The Bash. Brought to you by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters, including A&B Logistics, LLC, A&T Concrete Supply, Absolute Custom Machine, LLC, Angermeyer Electric, Brian Stevens Homes, Davis Brothers, Daylight Land Management, Daywig Meats, Dillback Properties, Diversified Instruments, Du Bois County Garage Doors, Duke Energy, ERA First Advantage, Rodney Langford, First Rate Real Estate, Kent Kleiman, Foster Construction, Ryman Land Service LLC, by Fort Branch Car Wash, Gady Oil, the grandparents of Owen O'Neill, Grassmaster Sod Farms, Hobstadt Family Dentistry LLC, Hobstadt Summerfest, Heritage Petroleum LLC, Hillside Gardens, HMC Gears, Image Inks, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, in memory of Zach Bailey, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Nathan Belote, Jackson Seed Service, Jarbo Tax Service, JJ's Concrete Construction LLC, JMCO Technologies, Johnson Commercial Mowing Incorporated, K&K Excavating Incorporated, Casey Fuquay State Farm Agent, Kathy Solomon Photography, Key Construction Incorporated, Kissel Wagner Survey LLC, by Kirkwood Family Dentistry, Little Titans Daycare, Little Miracles Learning Center, Lowry Ag Company LLC, by Marcus Jungan State Farm Insurance, Melcor Custom Cabinets, MyTech Systems, by Murphy's Stump and Grind LLC, National Vet Help, Owensville Auto Body, Parker Excavating, by Perfect Climate Heating, Air and Plumbing, Pole Concrete Construction, Prodigy Mold and Tool Incorporated, Pro Rehab, Rawhide Golf Supplies LLC, Rooted in Him, Sandy's Pizza and Mini Storage, Shearer Monument Works, by Scotty's Lawn Equipment, by Senior Tequila, Solman Family Farms LLC, South Gibson Titan Lacrosse, Steve Faulkner Chevrolet, by Stodgel Funeral Home, by Tai Chow, The Brass Ring, Titan Construction, TYFL, the Titan Youth Football League, by United Fidelity Bank, Value Built Homes, Bernardo Construction, Vomac Truck Sales and Service Incorporated, by We Simply Clean LLC, and by Young's Auto Body. The Nick Hart Show, a special sports production of the Wabash Valley College Radio, TV, and Digital Media Department, and 89.1 The Bash.